This is a story about my healing journey, especially how I was healed in my sense of self-worth. I grew up always wanting to have the approval of my dad, my mom, and everyone around me, including the members of our local church. On the outside, I was just like any other kid, but on the inside, I was insecure and at times felt unvalued and unappreciated, like no one cared about me. I'm not that really shy, but I didn't know how to speak up for myself and express my feelings. It's always I needed to act like this so that they would like me or they would accept me. I kept a lot to myself. Of course, I had a lot of positive moments in my childhood too. And when I say a lot, it's really a lot. But the negative ones created wounds that stuck. The negative ones are the things that really made a difference because as a kid, I didn't know how to manage those negative emotions and thoughts, and they began to pile up and contribute to the story I tell myself in my mind about my life, and that story shapes everything. So much of this was a realization only after in life. I didn't feel confident with myself, my looks, my body, and my personality. I was so afraid of being judged by others. I didn't want to be seen as weird. I cared too much about what other people thought. In order not to be affected by what others would say about me, I will say it to myself right away. Now in my 20s, I am starting to learn how to appreciate myself on my own. Yung hindi ko na kailangan ng approval ng ibang tao. Yes, it is a process, and oh dear, nasa starting line pa lang ako as of the moment. But here are some things I really want to highlight in these healing diaries. First, it was on building my self-confidence, then learning to listen to my inner voice and live authentically, living the life that I want to live. Wala nang pagpapanggap kumbaga. And more recently, it's been on healing my old wounds around self-worth. So much of my stress and anxiety was tied to my unstable sense of self-worth. Because of how I was raised, I equated success with approval and love. Failure was the scariest thing because it meant disapproval and being unloved. Growing up with strict expectations, I didn't feel loved unconditionally. The love was definitely conditional. Get good grades, go to a good school, and get a good job. Those things would get you approval. The closest thing to love you get with Asian parents. Failing at any of those was absolutely unacceptable. Not only that, but experiencing certain traumas as a child had cultivated such low self-worth in general. So, how was I healed with my self-worth and cultivated self-acceptance? I'm not fully healed yet, but there are a few things that are helping me right now. Reflection through lots of journaling, reading the Bible, and having faith that after all of my struggles and shortcomings, God will bring healing to myself, my scars, my wounds, and crushed spirit. Those things help me get still with my mind and become more aware of my thoughts. Many of you know I went on a trip to Baguio to give myself space to heal. I had a lot of breakthroughs there, about the thoughts that have been holding me back and giving me anxiety. And all those breakthroughs led me back to my self worth. I'll share more in depth realizations on that trip in my podcast, Letters to Mine, which is going to be an episode of Healing Diaries. But basically, through my healing, I learned to see myself and my past experiences with love. I was honestly so moved that it brought me to tears, like I was seeing how small I am in the vast nature. Seeing the view from the mountaintop made me really ponder and think that there's a massive nature outside my brain. Why am I letting myself be swallowed by my thoughts in my comfort zone when all I need to do is get out of it so that I can see how small I am? I now can see my life in the bigger picture. My journey was starting out as someone who didn't have much self worth, and I tended to seek love and worth from the outside, from the people around me. And my whole life journey has been going from being that person who sought out external love and appreciation and approval to becoming someone who sees my worth not anchored to myself but with the Word of God. And that's when I truly learned to see that no matter how unworthy I am, there is still one person who chose me, who loved me not for who I was, a sinner, but for who I can become, a victor, when I align myself with Him. I realize now that I don't need people's approval anymore. And it's the journey of learning to give me that love and approval I always seek. It will be difficult, especially in the beginning, but it doesn't mean it's not doable. I'm not really an advocate of self-love and self-healing because there are things in these concepts that are not aligned with what I believe in. But there are also things that I agree with, and let me share some of them. First, it is important for us to have self-awareness. The things that we experience, our decisions, and the things we should endure because of these decisions. The past that led us to our present and how it would affect us in the near future. Second, we should not beat ourselves up when things don't go in our own way. It is something that we cannot really control, so it is best to let things happen the way they are and focus on the things that we can control, like how we would react to things and circumstances. Lastly, I believe that healing comes from God. However, we have our part to do in that process of healing. I would not call it self-healing, but rather a responsibility. My cousin, who's a pastor, once said, healing also means taking responsibility for the role you play in your own suffering. And your trauma may or may not have been your fault, but pursuing God for healing is and will always be your responsibility.